It is my pleasure to call to order the Peoria Public School Board of Education meeting for October 25th to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick. Mr. Klaus. Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Dr. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mrs. Ross.
Here.
President Wilson.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. Would you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to announcements. We will start on the left side with Mr. Mike Murphy and go in order.
All right, thank you. Reminder to 8th grade students preparing to apply for the Richwoods High School IB program. Applications, including teacher recommendations and sealed proof of test scores, are due Friday, November 19th. If you have any questions, contact thomas.hayes@psd150.org.
Thank you, Mike. Chase.
School Improvement Day, Wednesday, November 3rd. Wednesday, November 3rd is school improvement and a half day for students. Schools on the first tier schedule will dismiss at 10:30. Schools on the second tier will dismiss at 11:20. And schools on third tier will dismiss at 12:10.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the Richwoods MCJROTC on their wins this weekend at the Midwest Spartan Invitational Competition. The boys and girls teams competed against teams from Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois, and both teams won their respective competitions, meaning both teams qualified for nationals. Individual female medalists include first place Anna Hipple, third place for Ella Martin, and fifth place for Dynasty Smith. Individual male medalists include first place for Anthony Joseph, second place for Ryan Salisbury, and fourth place for Ryan Busick. We also want to congratulate the Richwoods girls team on finishing 7th at state last week. So congratulations. Oh, for tennis, yes. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Daylight savings time ends Saturday, November 6th. Remember to set your clocks back 1 hour that Saturday evening. And then each year, the Peoria Public School Foundation awards over $30,000 in college scholarships every year to Peoria Public School graduating seniors. The PPS Foundation scholarship application window opens November 1st, 2021. High school seniors can find application links at www.ppsfoundation.org/student-scholarships. Students and parents with questions can email jennifer.adler@psd150.org or speak to your student's high school counselor.
PPS staff open enrollment. Reminder to PPS staff members, online benefits open enrollment opens today and closes on Saturday, November 6th. Log on to your Skyward Employee Access and click on the Online Open Enrollment tab at the top of your screen. Please see the all staff email for important details regarding open enrollment. The Everside Activate Health Center is also available to PPS employees. Please call 309-512-0902 for more information or 877-447-1244 after hours.
Parent information meeting for Manual High School Army JROTC program. A parent meeting for 8th through 11th grade students interested in applying for the Manual High School Army JROTC program and boundary waiver procedures will be held from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Wednesday, October 27th at Manual High School. Contact Sergeant O, JROTC instructor, at chris.oertwig@psd150.org or 309-674-8847 with any questions.
Dr. Ryan?
STEAM Resource Fair for Teachers. The University of Illinois Extension STEAM Resource Fair for Teachers will be held virtually at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 26th. For details and to register, go to go.illinois.edu/Teacher Tuesdays and click the orange Register Online button. The Teacher Tuesday Virtual STEAM Resource Fair is free and open to the public, and teachers may be eligible to earn ISBE professional development hours by attending.
PSA auditions. Excuse me. Peoria High School's preparatory school for the arts, PSA, will hold auditions for PPS 8th grade students the week of November 1st through the 5th. Students can audition for programs in choir, dance, drama, band, orchestra, or the visual arts. Details on the PSA program and the audition schedule are on the school website, or contact mara.shepherd@psd150.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Costick. Next, we have awards and recognition. Those Who Excel Award winner 2021 Early Career Educator, Sue Malahi.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Hars, would you like to come join me? It is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Hars, the former Ms. Masuyama, as the recipient of the Early Career Educator Award. In her first 2 years with Peoria Public Schools, she has served as orchestra director at Richwoods High School and as band and orchestra director at Lindbergh Middle School. During virtual learning, Mrs. Hars taught classes online, providing students with the opportunity to work both individually and as an ensemble. She also made it possible for individualized instruction in a COVID-safe environment for students who wanted that in-person support when needed. Last year, we were fortunate, as our 5th graders come in ready to play an instrument. We had a lot of students ready to do that, but unfortunately, COVID safety protocols meant that we couldn't have band and orchestra in traditional ways. Mrs. Hars used ukuleles that we had in the building to offer students the opportunity to learn to play an instrument and begin developing those foundational music skills. This was a big hit and has paid off a lot this year. Our band and orchestra programs have grown incredibly, and Richwoods reports the same, as their orchestra has doubled in size this year. This new interest, though, does provide its challenges in securing instruments for all of those students who want to play. Mrs. Hars worked her magic, and last year she got a phenomenal donation of brand new orchestra instruments for Richwoods. And then this year she has worked very, very hard to secure donations and then clean and repair them, much of that done on her own, so that all of the interested students at Lindbergh are able to be in the band and orchestra. We are very appreciative of Mrs. Hars and all she has done to share her passion for music with the students at Richwoods and Lindbergh.
And would you like to say something as well?
Thank you so much, Mrs. Malahi, for this incredible recognition. It's a true honor, and the pandemic certainly caused a lot of hurdles for us teachers, but I'm very, very grateful for the administration and the staff to be so supportive and to really help us make the most out of this year and last year. And I'm incredibly proud to work here in Peoria, especially with the amount of support and enthusiasm for music within the students. So thank you so much for this award. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So we are now at the point of presentation by audience. Presentations by audience are limited to 5 minutes, and we ask that you keep them constructive. Our first presentation will be from Mrs. Tony Young.
Good evening. I came today to speak to the board regarding the Richwoods High School secretary. I have my last child at Richwoods, and it is disheartening to know that someone in the capacity that she's in, because it doesn't matter your title, she is still in front of our kids. She represents District 150, she represents Peoria, and to use the word that she used is just disheartening. I'm coming here today to ask the board to fire her. Union or not, wrong is wrong, right is right, and we have to set an example for these young people in this room. I'm sure they had plenty of other things to do, but they stopped what they were doing to come here and try to, address you in an orderly manner. And I think that deserves recognition. Like I said, the 3 kids that I had that went to Richwoods, my son graduated 2 years ago, worked in the office during a period that he didn't have a class because he had his credits, and he was in a different conversation that my younger child was in with me and his father, and he can remember how rude this lady was to him. He's coming in the office running errands probably that she should have been running, and she was rude to him. So, and he's not a kid that is going to talk down on someone unless it's deserving. Then we have a conversation with my daughter that is a sophomore there, and she's always just preoccupied. I mean, if a kid is coming in the office, usually the secretary is like the person that's like nurturing and it's not the teacher, and it's kind of like someone you can maybe talk to on a different level. I don't know. And for her to make a kid feel like you're bothering them and they're at work. No, you're there to do a job. So those 2 examples, on top of many others that I've heard, I don't know why she hasn't been disciplined thus far. And I don't know if it's because they're kids, but then I have to ask myself, when this came out, the video came out, was she like that to my kids because of the color of their skin? I mean, there has to be a reason. I mean, my kids are straight A students. They're not bad kids. And I'm not saying you should be like that to bad kids. I'm just saying that I'm sure they went in there very respectful. And for someone to make them feel a certain type of way, she shouldn't be at Richwoods. She shouldn't be anywhere within the district. The district is made up of a lot of black and brown kids, and they shouldn't feel that they can't come in the office, approach someone, and this person feels this way about them. So I'm asking the board to consider expulsion, firing, whatever it takes. She should not be moved to a different school. She should not be paid administrative leave or suspended or any of that. I understand that there's a union. I'm in a union as well. The union should have some guidelines, and that is far beyond acceptable. Thank you for hearing me.
Next speaker for the evening will be Mr. Terry Knapp. Next speaker, Mr. Knapp. Oh, you're our next speaker, Mr. Knapp.
I've been in Florida for 3 weeks, and while I was in Florida, I received 5 phone calls about this situation with the secretary. From what I understand, she repeated something that she watched on Netflix or something with her 2 daughters at home, and she repeated a statement with the N-word in it. She did not call anybody the N-word, from what I understand. Now, I could be totally wrong. The point is this, in this district or any place else, you have progressive discipline. If somebody used the word, first of all, for the last 15 years in this district, kids have used 500 to 1,000 times a day, they call each other the N-word or derivation of the N-word. This is not something that just happened overnight. This has been common practice for the last 15 years, and it's getting worse. And part of the reason why it's getting worse is the administration and the board allows kids, not you kids, but allows kids, and you know this, it happens in first, second, third grade in this district, that this goes on at the grade school level, and it simply builds over time. The words that begin with N, no matter what the derivation is, they all mean the same thing. They should not be allowed. 15 years ago when I was teaching, I had an incident in my classroom where a student, a Mexican student, called a young man the N-word. And then he and the girl in the room went ballistic. She said he called her the N-word. I took him right down to the dean's office. The young man had called the Mexican girl a hora, which is a whore, okay? And she said he called me a whore, and I called him the N-word. And what I'm saying is, I said, that's it. This is over with. He started it, it's over with. The next day, the girl came in the classroom, the one that brought it to my attention that he had used the N-word. It was not during class, it was on the way into class. You understand what I'm saying? And so the next day, she hollered across the room at one of her friends, hey, nigga, and I said, we're not going to put up with that. It's over with. It's not going to be used in my classroom 15 years ago. Do you understand? It is used daily in this district, and it should be stopped. It's just like, going back to the curriculum, the new deal with the critical race theory. We should be teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. We should not be engaged in half the day talking about critical race theory. The Attorney General of the United States' son-in-law has made $20 million on the critical race theory in 2,000 school districts in this country. It's probably in this district. To some degree, it is in this district. It's got to stop. We got to go back. We had 4% 2 years ago of the manual kids that were even eligible to go to college. 13% at Central. 87% could not have even gone to ICC last year and signed up and not had to go to remedial classes. Quest, 6%. 90, that would be 94% of the kids at Quest are not even college ready. It's pathetic. And you let this happen. The school board has let this happen. And we have to turn every time to racial things. I grew up in this district. I grew up below the hill. I grew up with people of color. We're all of color. I taught biology. Everybody in this room has color. I don't see any albinos. All of us have pigment. All of us have melanin. That's just a biology lesson. If you didn't get that in your biology class, somebody shortchanged you. You understand what I'm saying? And this woman repeated something that was on a video, and then somehow a friend had a 5-second clip. It got out, and her kids and she have been just bombarded with phone calls. She could have won this case easily. She could have got $500,000 from this district. The attorneys in this district have lost case after case after case going after people for nothing. This is remediable conduct. All she had to do was have a letter put in her file saying, you use the N-word, don't use it again. Progressive discipline, you get a reprimand, you get another reprimand, then you get fired. You don't get fired on the first thing. And I'm not saying, I understand how some people feel about this. I've lived in this district. I'm 75 years old. I grew up in this district. I was a straight A student. My kids went to Woodruff. They were straight A students. They got along perfectly with everybody at Woodruff High School. And Woodruff High School is one of the most diverse schools in the community. I just think it's poor that you hire people, and because she repeated a word she heard on television, she gets this type of treatment. She's gone. She resigned. Get over it. You got your job done. You got rid of her.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Miss Desiree Lawson. Did I say that the correct way? Desiree Lawson.
She 18.
Good evening, Dr. Karat, PSD 150 board members, and member attendees. My name is Desiree Lawson, and I'm a student at Richwoods High School. Today, my peers and I gathered here to discuss a recent incident pertaining to our high school. As many of you have heard, there has been a video circulating social media sites of Richwoods High School Secretary Courtney Lewis. In the video, Lewis is seen and heard using a derogatory racial slur. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my Black peers. When this video was discovered, my peers and I felt an instant notion of bewilderment. The Black students of Richwoods, including myself, felt betrayed to an extent. This staff member is one of the first you see as you enter the building. She is supposed to display hospitality and professionalism. Many students I've spoken with have stated she displayed the exact opposite. Today, her professionalism is not the issue. The discomfort of the word Mrs. Lewis chose to spew from her mouth is the issue. Myself and other Black Richwood students feel it is imperative Mrs. Lewis is held accountable for her actions. We understand she has been placed on temporary paid leave, but this is merely a slap on the wrist. Our question is, why is Ms. Lewis being allowed to resign rather than being terminated? How is it fair to us students that she was allowed to run away from consequences rather than facing them head on? She is being pampered for causing Black students at Richwoods High School a great deal of emotional trauma. Are we not worth the legalities you may face, even though we students are the reason this district exists? Furthering into legalities, what will be done about other staff members who feed into racial discomfort within this district? There have been many times where students have expressed discomfort with staff members entailing racial matters. For instance, a peer of mine reported how a teacher constantly would mistake her as another Black student. This may seem like a small, innocent mistake, but this is a huge microaggression. The teacher was not properly dealt with, feeding into the stigma that this district does not care for its students. I myself have even incurred this same issue. It is very frustrating to have a staff member display this behavior, especially when you and your peer are polar opposites. Should we be comfortable with their actions? No. Should we be okay with their actions? No. A lot of this microaggressive behavior may be due to ignorance or not being educated. But when you have non-Black staff members in mostly Black environments, they should be educated on these matters. Understand there are legalities that the district must follow, but we as Black students deserve to enter learning environments that are not filled with such discomfort and ignorance. The school's policy about diversity states Peoria Public Schools is committed to honoring its diversity and will strive to ensure that any type of discrimination or harassment based on economic class, race, religion, age, national origin, ancestry, gender, color, marital status, sexual orientation, and/or disability not be tolerated in our district. If this district does not tolerate these kinds of actions, then we are expecting Mrs. Lewis not to return to Richwoods. We are asking with assertiveness that she is not placed into any learning environment. This district upholds a model of where remarkable happens every day, but this is really a remarkable environment if students are in constant discomfort from those who are supposed to make them feel the most comfortable. I have one more question for this district. What are your limitations? Because it obviously isn't the well-being of students. Back in 2017-2018, Philip Earhart was accused of sexual relations with an underage student. He was also placed on paid administrative leave. I understand it's a teachers' union issue, but this staff was blatantly accused of illegal actions, and yet he was still compensated
from the district, as Ms. Lewis too. So when do the students come first is my question, because it obviously wasn't then or now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lawson. Our next speaker will be Mr. Al Quizon. Thank you.
First, I want to thank the board for hearing us out. The fight for equality is a never-ending battle.
The Richwoods MCJRTC encourages everyone, regardless of beliefs, race, gender recognition, to join our family.
Our family is of diversity, and it is our diversity that makes us stronger.
Every human being has a right to be great and exceed the expectations that the world may put on them.
We do not hide from topics that make people uncomfortable.
We educate ourselves so that, as a family of the world's next great leaders, we can break down the walls that were put in place by the generations before us.
Ignorance to the world and to the people that live within it is inexcusable and must be addressed.
This fight is not only across the world, but can be seen right inside our own homes if we open our eyes.
And it shall not be ignored.
We will lead and join any group that wishes for a better world and life for our future and the future of those that will come after us.
The longer we wait for others to make the change, the longer the chains of racism will hold down the progressions of us as a U.S. united people.
The more none of us will truly live to the potential that we have.
Please stand with us as a program and fight the ignorance in the world.
Let us, the young future of the world, be the example to elevate the lives of every human being to greatness. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker will be
We, student representatives of Richwoods High School, are coming forward to discuss the actions of Secretary Courtney Lewis, who was videoed using the racial slur, specifically the N-word with the hard ER. From our understanding, those with true knowledge of this incident did not even disclose of this information until weeks after the initial surface of the video, while students, faculty, and even board members were not brought aware of this situation until the video resurfaced last Monday. We feel disappointed about the significant time gap, as we feel that this incident was merely swept under the rug. When the video was initially shared, it only reached few students and staff, and Ms. Lewis was placed on paid leave, unbeknownst to most of the student body. We feel as though staff members' racist behavior that impacts students, whether on school grounds or not, is toxic to minority students, and it should be made aware to everyone in the environment. If the video hadn't resurfaced last week, we do not feel confident that anyone would have pushed for the removal of Mrs. Lewis, and she would simply be placed back into our school with Black students, Black community members on the daily, and none of them knowing about her twisted mindset and mentality of us. In the video, Mrs. Lewis stereotypically mocked the way that we speak and appropriated the word that only Black people are allowed to use, and only Black people have reclaimed in a different variation, and not even with the ER. Amen. In any context or location, it is unacceptable for anybody that is not Black to use the N-word, regardless of if it's a joke, because you cannot joke about the N-word. It's not something to joke about. It's not funny, it's not appropriate, and it's definitely not appropriate for anybody that's not Black. No school staff member should be using this language or have this mindset that allows this behavior. Racism is simply a disease. It's kept alive primarily by the people who claim that it's not an issue anymore, claim that it's irrelevant, or that it has no significant impact in today's society. The fact of the matter is, racism still exists on an institutional level, including the education system. And this can be portrayed by any type of way, including bias, the way that you treat students, even grading. If you allow racist teachers and staff in our schools, you will willingly contribute to the harm of students that you're supposed to be educating. We don't want situations like this to be swept under the rug again. We don't want Mrs. Lewis to simply be transferred to a different school or district. We as students should feel safe and comfortable in our school environment. In the future, we would like to be brought aware of situations like this so we don't have to blindly trust the people around us who clearly don't respect us. We want to be able to trust the school board, district, and our staff members that have best interests in mind at all times.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Next speaker will be Ms. Ari Johnson.
Good evening. I hope you are all feeling blessed on this day. And before I even get started, I just want to thank you for your time and allowing me to come up here. As mentioned, my name is Ari Johnson, and I'm here with a few of my peers on behalf of the Richwood student body. Many of us feel that as a result of this traumatic experience, students will not be able to function the same emotionally, socially, nor academically. We've all been affected by the actions of Ms. Lewis, and we feel as if this needs to be addressed with the sole intent to better our school and do what is right by our students. We feel that Principal Impkin could have handled the situation in a more effective and efficient manner to make sure students know they are cared for in such times, even without us knowing the details of the matter at hand. Our concerns are not just about the current students of Richwoods High School, but the students who are to come after us, as well as many students that step into any Peoria public school. We should in no way, shape, or form have to go through such a traumatic experience where we feel those who are supposed to be there to support us are really just there looking down on us instead. The individuals we decide to place into our schools are specifically there to guide us through our educational journey and put us on a path to success. Be a part of the solution and not the problem by standing up for us and what is right. Avoiding the hard conversations and situations only leaves room for distrust and error, while confronting them invites room for growth. This is why we, the students of Richwoods High School, ask you today, as the situation is further investigated, that you keep in mind the values of our district. Ask yourself, is such behaviors hold up to that standard of excellence? And if that's what you want affecting our systems, what are you, the board, going to do about this matter so that it's handled appropriately and that no other incident like this occurs again? Thank you.
Rio or Buckle? Okay, thank you. There you go. Next we have we next have audience a response to audience presentation by Dr. Karat. But Dr. Karat, if you can, if I can say just a couple things. I kind of got chills as the students were up there talking. I'm very proud of each and every last one of you for stepping up and making your public comments today. I know myself, along with other board members as well, don't stand nor tolerate racism or discrimination of any kind, especially in our schools and everywhere throughout these arenas that we're at. So I'm going to stand right along with you all. So I want to make sure that we exchange contact information and whatever it is that I can do to ensure that your voices continue to be heard. I want to do that. So I just want to give you guys a lot of respect for coming up to the podium. Dr. Karat.
Thank you, President Wilson. Wanted to thank everyone for who came out, Ms. Young and Mr. Knapp, and of course all of our students from Richwoods, Ms. Lawson, Mr. Quisson, Ms. Arbuckle, Ari Johnson, and Ms. Jones, right? Ms. Jones, thank you guys for coming out. You know, as President Wilson said, it's amazing and really good. You know, you came to us, you were very well prepared, you planned, and you presented, and we really appreciated you coming and just sharing your thoughts with us. And I know that happened at your building as well with your principal, Mrs. Emkin. So again, thank you for doing this. As you continue to grow, you know, one of the things I'll emphasizes, we have a saying, you see something, you say something. You see something wrong, you say something. And that's what the group did today. And we really appreciate that. And we know we're in a society where sometimes, the right outcomes are not handed out. And there's a lot of angst about that. But one thing you can trust about this district and this board and your administration at Richwoods is when things happen and a lot of stuff come to us and we send it through the right process. And there is a process and we have to do our due diligence. And so that's a message that I would like you to reflect on, and hopefully your teachers can help you with that as well. Because, it's like whenever bad things happen and then we get to the other side, I'm always like, what have we learned from that? What can we learn from that? And a lot of people don't understand that there is a process. The board can't just say, okay, boom, this or that. Nor can I, right? So, but the important process is you're involved and you're making comments and you're providing your feelings and your experiences. And then you trust that the process will continue along that path. So you've done what you had to do, and then does that make sense? So, right, okay, great, because Ms. Emkin and I talked about, I wanted to ensure that you guys understood the process as far as that's concerned. And then the other thing that I will say, it may not be popular, but I want to say to you, I think it's a good lesson to learn since you're here. And it may not be popular either, but I do want to share it with you, is that we're human beings. We all are human beings, and we do make mistakes, right? We do make mistakes, and sometimes we do have to forgive as well. And I want us to keep that in the back of our heads as we go along, as you grow up to be leaders. So those are the things that I just wanted to say to our young people. We're proud of you. We love you. We're here for you. We're fighting every day for you, right? And I've gotten some feedback as well from the meeting, because that's what I wanted, Ms. Emkins and Ms. Andrews. We have those, and we're going to work on those as well. So thank you for coming out this evening.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking? Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 1 under information items, Superintendent update.
Thank you, President Wilson. This will be actually very short, I think. It's actually in reference to COVID-19 vaccinations for ages 5 through 11. That's coming up on the surface. So it's an update on pediatric COVID-19 vaccinations. We've talked a lot about our students who are 12 years old and older, our high school students. They have been eligible for COVID-19 vaccines since the spring. Now there's an opportunity for students ages 5 through 11. And actually that group, they represent a large share of our population. They will have an opportunity as well. But we're still waiting on FDA and CDC. Hopefully they'll give an approval, a final approval, hopefully in the next 10 to 14 days. And we're talking about also the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. We have been working with Monica from the Health Department, and Monica and her team at the Health Department, they have been preparing locally for this opportunity for, again, students ages 5 through 11. Unlike the other ones, there will not be mass vaccination sites for this age group. Hospital systems, pediatric offices, and school health clinics will be taking the lead on COVID vaccinations for this group. So Monica and Unity Point have recommended that vaccinations begin, and it's all, again, based on FDA and CDC. We're hoping it starts around November 19th so that the administration of the second dose does not overlap with the Thanksgiving holiday and prevent students from being fully inoculated. We have met with our in-school partner, Unity Point, to prepare and plan for the approval once it's finalized. We will be distributing COVID-19 vaccine consent forms to all of our students in that age group so that parents can fill them out and return them. And once they have been returned, Unity Point will contact the parents and confirm the appointment time and date. So Unity Point will be going mobile to our schools with these grade levels to administer on-site vaccinations. So vaccines will also be administered at our 3 in-school clinic sites, Treewin, Peoria High, and Manual. And if anyone has any questions, they can call 672-6744, 672-6744, or call one of the 3 Unity Point in-school health clinics. So that's the update. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Karat. Is there any board member response for the superintendent update? Seeing none. Moving along, we have item number 2, proposed expenditures over $2,500. Questions for Mr. Willis? Seeing none. Item number 3, report.
Sorry, I did have a question for Mr. Willis. Proposed expenditures over 2,500. The list of expenditures, I was wondering, on the Ameren, there's like tons and tons of Ameren bills on here. And I'm wondering, what are they? Are these separate bills, or how would you describe those? You have it in front of you? Question was, where are all these facilities that are listed here? Mhm.
I would have to look that information up. The Ameren bills have location codes on the account number, and I would just have to pull those up. But they're all across the district. Is that?
Okay, you can look it up. That's
Okay.
fine, and get back with me, because we don't have this many facilities. That's why I was asking.
Well, there may be some cases where, there could be 2 invoice amounts for one site, but I'll double check it.
Okay, maybe just something to look at.
Thank you, Vice President Ross. Any other questions for Mr. Willis? Seeing none. Item number 3, report of requests under the Freedom of Information Act and the status of such requests.
Sorry about that. I got into Vice President Ross's question. Since our board meeting on October 11th, we have received 0 requests. There were no pending requests on October 11th also. Both have been closed. So to date, we have received 24 requests for this calendar year at a grand total of 1,200. Thank you, President Wilson.
Thank you, Dr. Karat. Item number 4, we have a school improvement plan.
Yeah, so this is just an annual ritual for us. Each building has a plan, and it's associated with Title I SIG grants. So, and each building plan is also aligned to our strategic plan. They're all very good plans around our 5 strategies. So if any board member would like to see one specifically or all, we can provide that information to you. But this is part of the routine that we have to go through in order to get the grant dollars. Dr. Wilson, you want to add, Carla, you want to add anything to that? When I was a principal, I had those, and I think what I like about our process for the last couple of years is that we have aligned it to the strategic plan. So instead of, I used to have strategic plan goals and school improvement plan goals and Rising Star goals and this goals, and so we've really aligned them very well and make it a lot easier and more focused and coherent for the building principals. Dr. Wilson, you want to add anything to that?
Every month at each building also monitors their plan, and they check the data and make sure that they're on progress. The goals were initially. It's an ongoing improvement.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, moving along. We are now ready for the consent agenda. Vice President Ross.
Thank you, President Wilson. The consent agenda consists of gifts to the school district. Year-to-date, $43,883.93. Donations valued at $150 by Ameren, not Ameren, but American Water for refillable bottles for marked bills, and donations valued at $2,000 from Diane Overhammer, supplies for students at Rolling Acres. Payment of bills, number 2. Number 3, payment for travel. Number 4, human resources report. Number 5, renewal of reinsurance, all employees. Number 6 is the amendment group health care plan for all employees. Number 7 is the Medica contract. Number 8 is the approval for sale of surplus property, and that is the entirety of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Vice President Ross. Is there any items board members would like to pull for a separate vote? Mr. Shaw?
Item number 8.
Item 8, is there any other item that board members would like to pull from the agenda tonight? Hearing none. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda with the exception of item 8?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda with the exception of item 8? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking? Aye. Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Oh, aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. May I have a motion and a second to discuss item 8?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, I was looking for some clarification on item number 8. The end of the sentence, sale said property, 5 diesel school buses at public auction to the lowest bidder. Did we mean to say highest bidder in this case?
Yeah.
Okay, typo. It's in the action and in the description, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I think it's already been moved and seconded. And we will get that amended, correct? Nick? So, can I have I would like, Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll on item number 8 as amended?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Ranking? Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have deliberation agenda.
It's accepted as presented with the expulsion to be held in abeyance.
Thank you. Can I get a motion in a second?
I moved.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
President Wilson?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. We are now at the point where we're at presentations and suggestions by board members. And I did have just one thing to say. I would like to congratulate our board member, Michael Murphy, on being named one of 50 Disney Magic Makers. That's a big accomplishment. We're glad to have you. Is there any other presentations and suggestions by board members?
I want to congratulate our superintendent for receiving an award from the NAACP. Not sure what category it was, but I saw that you had received an award from the NAACP. John Gwen Award. Okay, congratulations for you.
Thank you. Reports from board committees.
The Buildings and Ground Committee will meet on Tuesday, November the 9th at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you.
Didn't talk about the awards, recognize awards.
Oh, yes, yeah. I did at the last, they didn't change.
Okay. One thing I want to expound upon as far as Buildings and Grounds Committee, for those individuals that would like to submit names or for the renaming of schools, those names and information need to be in by December 1st. So that is still open for anyone who would like to submit names, and the information on how to do that is on our website.
Thank you. Any other reports from board committees? Mr. Ryan? Dr. Reinke.
Yeah, you're good. The next Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee is November 15th at 7:15 a.m., and we are continuing to work through some of the work that we decided on is to focus on policies as a way to have action within our district, and that was a decision made at our first meeting, so we're continuing with that process.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Reinke. Any other reports? Chase?
Policy will meet November 17th at 3:30.
Awesome. November 17th? Okay. Procurement Committee?
Procurement Committee is set for the 27th. At what time?
10:30.
10:30 a.m. on the 27th, the Procurement Committee.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?